Hey guys, how's it going? You're tuned into Limitless Sound Studios, and this is a tutorial on how to mix and master your music with Ableton stock plugins. Let's go over what we need to do first. So, once we've mixed down our track, we basically need to export it into a WAV file. So let's do that now. So when we start with a new master, you want to make sure you open it up in a new session so that you're not going back and changing things on the mix and you're only working with the final mix of the track. So let's go do that now. So start a new live set. And then go ahead and import your track that you just exported. There it is. Just want to bring it into an audio track here. And there we go, it's ready to start mastering. So what you want to do is you want to pick a part of your song that's high in energy, probably the most high part of energy in your song, and then kind of work with that to see what you can do with it. So that sounds like a pretty good section to work on, so let's go ahead and do that. So all your mastering processing, you should just do it on the master bus right here and here. So what I like to start with is just basic stuff. So stuff that you'll be needing is like EQ, a compressor, a limiter, possibly utility. You never know what you want to do with it, but every track's different, so just play it by ear. That's what I like to do. So go ahead in your plugins and then find out where you can get a nice EQ from. So this tutorial is just based off Ableton stock plugins, so for anyone that has Ableton, or at least Ableton, well, at least 10, then you should have all these plugins, especially in the suite version. So I'm just pulling out a EQ8 here. It's kind of my go-to EQ. We listen back and then we make little adjustments. So when you're mastering a track, you don't want to make any massive adjustments to the track because you've already done that in the mix. So you want to make minuscule changes, but changes that are, well, noticeable, and that will make your track better in the end and ready for upload. So let's see what we can do with EQ. So I just made some minuscule changes with the EQ. So this is just a test track. I'm not sitting here to do it properly, but you would make some changes that are pretty similar to this. 1 dB increment changes, nothing major. Max 2, max 3, around there. You don't want to make massive changes to your track because it's just your master, it's not your mix. So you also want to pull your level down up here in the mixer so that you're not clipping when you're processing. And then yeah, just go from there and just keep adding things down your chain. So the next thing we could kind of use, it needs some probably compression. So I'll go in here and I'll get a compressor. Chuck that in there on your master bus. And let's start compressing. Now that we got some compression going, it's nice and tight and it kind of sounds a bit louder, but still not right. It's still not just how we want it. So still a couple more things you can do to it. So now that we got our compressor done, it's not final yet. You still might want to make a couple more changes. Depending on what kind of plugins you have, you can go for it. You can keep adding more plugins to your master bus, but I'm going to keep it simple for this tutorial and kind of work with this Ableton stock plugins so we can see what we can do without buying anything really. So once it's compressed, you could do stuff like saturation or overdrive or even multiband dynamics. So if you want to go that route, it's a bit trickier, but could make it sound cooler depending on the track and what it needs. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and chuck just a saturator on there, just to give it a bit more oomph. So I'll pull the dry wet down. Add some drive. So I've just added a little bit of saturation, mixed it in, pumped the drive through. It's electronic music, so you can kind of go a bit harder with these plugins. So just do that, get a nice drive in there. It sounds a bit more saturated and way more fuller now. And then I've just brought the dry wet down to about 35%, so it's not so aggressive and just ruining the mix. And yeah, after that you can kind of just go through and just chuck a limiter on there. You should probably do this when you first start off. Well, that depends. If your final mix is really high in volume, it will stop it from clipping. But if you brought it down right here in the mix, it's not really that necessary. But this is just pretending like we have like an ozone maximizer. It's essentially the same thing, but it's not the best. So what you want to do is kind of just pump your gain up till you have a nice volume really. You don't want to over pump it and overdrive it till it's distorted. You want to set your ceiling to whatever you're uploading to. So every different place you upload to will have a different ceiling or max peak. So most of them will be negative, 0.30 or negative 1 dB. So let's just do that. Let's just go for negative 1. So that means your max volume will never peak over that, and then you can keep pushing the gain here to match until we get some reaction. Take this off auto so you can mess around with it, and let's get started. So just by doing that already, it sounds so much better. Now, your master's pretty much ready to go, you know. You can use stuff like Ulean loudness meter to make sure you have your integrated loudness and all that stuff, right, before you upload, but that's a third-party plugin. But if you wanted to go do that, you can. You can also use many other plugins that come with Ableton to keep going and keep making minuscule changes. Like if you wanted another EQ, you could put it on the mix, put it before the limiter. Limiter should be your final plugin on the end of the bus because it's getting processed from left to right. So yeah, if you wanted, you could add another EQ and make the bass bigger, I guess, or make the highs higher. Anything you wanted, you could do. Cool. Now let's put this all in a group by selecting Shift, holding Shift, and clicking the one in the end, and then Command G, put that in a group, and then you can turn these all off and on at once, so then you can see what your master bus has actually done to your track. So let's go ahead and have a look at that. Well, this is the original sound, and I'll just keep switching it on and off so you guys can see the difference. So it already sounds a whole lot better. So by doing these little things, like just adding a little EQ, a little bit of saturation, a compressor, and you know, a limiter, you can pretty much master your own music anywhere. Like it might not be the best master compared to someone that has all the professional plugins and you know, so on and so forth, but you can still get it sounding pretty nice. And if you really want to just get a mix to someone really quickly and you don't have all the tools necessary, this is probably your best way to go about it, just to make a nice, quick, clean master. So yeah, thank you for watching and stay tuned.